Don't be bringing your negative vibes over here. It's good vibes only. It's intolerance is what it is. Welcome to Rowdy and Real with me, Sophie Shaw, therapist and slight loose cannon. Stick around for real talk, real growth, and some probable bad language. Let's dive in, shall we? Hi, love. Here we are again, happy as can be. Or not, and that's absolutely fine too. You know, I was having a browse in a shop the other day and I saw this little print that said, good vibes only. And I thought, oh, God, no, thank you. And it's not because I'm a total Grinch. It's because I felt like I was being told off for having emotions. Like, sorry, the only thing acceptable here is a massive grin plastered on your face 24/7. Don't be bringing your negative vibes over here. It's good vibes only. It's intolerance is what it is. And like all intolerance, it's fear-based. It's fear of anything risky or controversial or so-called negative. So, in the spirit of being rowdy and real, I'm going to say this controversial thing. There is no such thing as bad energy. And while we're at it, there's no such thing as negative emotions. So, look, before I put you off completely, we're in a seasonal shift at the moment. Wherever you are, the seasons are shifting. And as the seasons shift, you might feel a corresponding shift in your own energy. So what that means is that if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you might start to appreciate being cozied up at home and craving heartier meals and having earlier nights, being warmer and taking things at a slower pace. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, then you might be feeling a sort of fizzy kind of waking up type of energy as spring starts to work its natural magic. And all of that is because your energy is intertwined with the natural energy of the earth and its waxing and waning seasons. So you'll feel that. Even if you're not getting outside much, you will feel it on some level of your being. And the reason for that is because you are also natural energy. In fact, everything that exists is energy. It's all made up of energy, all vibrating at different frequencies. And we know this from the world of physics, which I say very knowledgeably as if I have any real understanding of physics. I don't. Just basically this, that we are all energy at our most foundational elements. And I often enjoy telling my Reiki students that there's no difference between them and the chair they're sitting on. They and we and you are all made up of the same stuff, energy. We're all just vibrating at different frequencies. So some things, like the chair, appear to be solid. And some things appear to be less solid, but you can still feel them, like water, like wind. And some things don't have any kind of touchable physical form, like thoughts and emotions, but they still have energy. They still are energy, and you can still feel and experience them. So when we talk about energy, we could think of it in a similar way to wind, for example, because wind could mean a soft, gentle breeze that cools your skin while you're sunbathing. It could mean a strong sea wind that fills the sails of a boat and gets it moving along the ocean. Or it could mean a tornado that rips a scar through the landscape and it, devastates lives. And yet that same wind can also break open seed pods and carry them and scatter them far and wide, sowing them like some kind of cosmic farmer. But it's all still just wind. And it's our experience of it, or rather it's our judgment of it. That's what makes it good or bad in our eyes. And I think it's helpful to remember this when you hear about good and bad energy, good or bad vibes, because there really is no such thing. energy is energy. It has no moral quality. It just simply exists. It just is. Now, it prefers to be in flow, if possible. So when it gets stuck or stagnates, you'll likely find yourself ill or upset or injured or impaired in some way. Imagine that sailboat when there's no breeze at all. It can't move anywhere. It gets stuck. It's powerless. It's trapped. And nobody likes trapped wind, right? Energy also likes to be balanced. So if it rushes frenetically or with great force, then the result is often strong emotion, like terror, anger, fear. That's the tornado. Or if it's kept in check or it's suppressed, especially if that happens over a long period of time, then you might find that it has an impact on your internal health. So you might experience digestive issues or stiff joints. Imagine trying with all your might for years to keep a door closed on a wind tunnel. You'd ache, right? But it's important to note that these imbalances, these impairments, these injuries or illnesses or long-term mental and emotional issues, they're not caused by bad energy, just stuck energy. So if you think of a river, for example, water always finds a way to flow if it can, even if it takes years. And just like a river, energy will always find a way to flow because it never dies. It can never be destroyed. It's always seeking direction and flow, and it will always find it. Now, it will find it in ways that you prefer and ways that you don't prefer, but it will find it. So that means that if the river is blocked, if the flow is impeded, then the water becomes stagnant and unhealthy. Now, does that mean that water is bad? Of course not. And when the river is unblocked and flow is restored, then the water runs pure and clear again and becomes a life-giving stream once again. And the same is true for you. So if you've been living with a mental or a physical or a spiritual health issue for some time, then the chances are that your energy is imbalanced or stuck. And all that's needed to start your return to health is to restore flow. Sounds simple, and I know it's not. The big question, though, is why do we get stuck in the first place? And the answer is because it's change. Flow is change. And we tend to resist change. But the thing is that no matter what energy is doing, it's always changing. It's never static. So, as I said, the seasons are shifting. So here in the Northern Hemisphere, leaves have turned, they've dropped, the light is fading, and that's quite challenging for many of us. That's a change that a lot of us don't really like. And over in the Southern Hemisphere, the wild winds, the snow of winter, they're giving way to sunshine and delicious spring breezes. Wherever you are, things are changing. Kids are going back to school or off to university. People are leaving home, moving house, starting new jobs, changing their businesses. Some of you might be starting new relationships or ending old ones. It's always changing. Everything always is. There's nothing so constant as change. So you may as well get on board. You may as well go with the flow. But we resist. We resist. And that's because the human mind is designed to keep us comfortable and safe. It really doesn't like when things are unpredictable or changing. And we even resist positive change sometimes, which is really annoying. But even though you may like things the way they are, you may like the status quo, or you may prefer it to something unpredictable and unknown, I know that you don't really want things to stay the same all the time because that would be so boring. In order to grow, we must change. It is part of the natural order of things. In order to create the rich, fulfilling life that we dream of, some things will have to change. Because if they didn't, we would just have what we've got right now forever and a day. Never anything more. Boo. We don't want that. We are always in a constant state of change. Did you know that the very cells in your body are changing and regenerating all the time? So, for example, you have a totally different liver than the one that you had roughly a year ago. I mean, that's incredible, right? So if you can embrace the flow, the changing seasons of your life, instead of resisting them, fighting them, blocking them, you'll free up so much energy and you'll find so much more peace. Get on board and embrace it, go with the flow. Or, as the Zen proverb says, let go or be dragged. Now, in my practice, I found that it's the flexible thinkers who achieve the greatest ease, the greatest happiness in life. It's those people who are willing to change their minds. And as I've always said, change your mind, change your energy, change your life. Now, one of the reasons that I love living where I do, which is Norfolk in the east of England, is that it's very flat. So that means that you get these huge, beautiful skies and incredible sunsets. In fact, here's a little bit of movie trivia for you. If you're a fan of the movie Wicked, which I am, that opening scene where the camera flies over this vast open field of rainbow-coloured tulips was actually shot here in Norfolk. And sometimes this place feels so expansive, so uplifting, so light, that I really wouldn't mind if it was summer all year round. And then I realized, no, I actually would not want that. Because the biggest reason that I love living here is all the green. I adore the lush, overgrown wildness of it, the coolness of the forests and the jungly wildflowers and the little winding paths and the great big ancient oaks and ashes and the great open fields. The way that the wind blows over the crop heads and it turns them into this sort of silvery wave. Oh, I just love it. It's all an endless source of deep joy for me. It's nature's free antidepressants, you know. And all of it requires, guess what? Rain and seasons. That amount of richness and fertility and growth, it doesn't just come from endless sunshine and open skies. It also requires a lot of weather, and it's the kind that I'm not really a fan of, which is rain and wind, coldness and grey clouds. It requires a cycle of seasons so that there's a time for growth, a time for stillness and rest and retreat, and a time for death, which then leads to regrowth and rebirth. That's natural energy at work, and the same is true for you. Your life is meant to be beautiful, but it is also meant to be seasonal. So you're meant to experience joy and pain. You're meant to laugh and cry. And your tears are watering the fertile ground of your joy, which is growing within you like a seedling, and it's ready to burst out of the soil and show its face to the sun again. So the question is, how? How do we move energy? How do we work with our seasons? How do we go with the flow of energy? How do we allow things to change? Well, let me give you some guidance. Let's pause for a second. If this is landing for you, make sure you hit subscribe or follow, because it means you'll always have a little dose of real talk waiting for you when you need it most. So the first thing, when you want to embrace some change and get your energy flowing again, the first thing is willingness. That means the true willingness to allow change to happen. And that can often be just the thing that opens up the floodgates and gets it moving. Now that's to start with. Then I suggest get support if you need it. And that doesn't have to be paid support. It could be a mentor or a friend or an accountability buddy telling someone, listen, this is what I'm doing. I want you to check in with me from time to time and see how it's going. Or you could get a therapist or a coach or a counselor to remind you of what it is that you really want. And what you want is hopefully more powerful, more appealing, more meaningful to you than staying the same. And that's the thing that's going to keep you motivated on the path to change. And then just start. Just start somewhere, anywhere. Just put one foot in front of the other, one tiny step in the direction that you want to go. Let me suggest a first step for you, and that's writing. Because the act of putting physical pen to paper, not typing, writing with a pen without intentionally composing or editing your output is a terrific way to restore flow. In fact, it's one of my absolute favorite places to start because it's dead easy and you can do it today for free. There's a book that I always emphatically recommend to everyone, and it's called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And in this book, she talks about taking just 3 scrappy old pages of A4 paper and just writing. Just writing whatever comes out, even if it's total crap. Not trying to make sense, not trying to be pretty or intelligent or witty or anything, just getting it all out on the page. And it can be total shit. It can be really negative. It can be whiny. It can be boring and mundane. It can be totally illegible. It does not matter. Just keep writing without stopping until you've filled the pages or you've completely run out of steam. And then you throw it away. You burn it, you shred it, but you do not keep it and you do not read it. Now, I call this bit scrap journaling, and it's an amazing way to get your juices flowing again and to empty out the shite that was in your head and get it outside of your body and gone, obliterated. Another fantastic way of shifting your energy is getting some healing from a Reiki practitioner or any other energy practitioner. It's a great start. And even better than that is learning how to heal your own energy with Reiki and just keep yourself in flow on a regular basis. If you want to learn Reiki, please do get in touch with me. I teach Reiki throughout the year, and it's one of my favorite ways to work with energy. And here's another, being outside in nature. That is a kind of free energy healing that automatically updates your software and keeps you in flow. Why not try movement and breath? No matter how small, it restores balance and flow always. And in fact, this is huge because moving the body, especially if it's fun and joyful, it always encourages energetic flow. And can you think of any others? Close your eyes if it's safe to do so, and just imagine the river of your own energy flowing through your body. And how does that feel to you? And then without thinking about it too much, what activities make that energy flow more freely? And now, what activities or what thoughts or what habits impede your flow and make you feel stagnant? And remember, you are also seasonal. So just because energy needs to flow, it doesn't mean that you have to always be on the go and doing something, because that's just hustle and burnout. That's making your river rush through narrow channels, which will then break its banks. So you don't necessarily have to do anything to be in flow. Allowing yourself to feel the emotions that you've been resisting. That's being in flow. Meditating is being in flow. Getting good sleep is being in flow too. Just remember that river. There is a time for you to move quickly and rush with fast-paced, bubbling energy. And there's also a time for you to rest and replenish, nourishing the slower pace of the gentle river bend in autumn and winter. And only you know what feels right for you. I can't tell you, and no one else can. If you get quiet, tune in, trust the wisdom of your own energy, you'll feel it. And changing your mind, changing your energy, it's a skill. And it's personally one that took me a long time and a lot of support to learn. So please be patient with your lovely self while you're learning. And find something to do or not do today that honors exactly what your energy needs. And let me know what you get up to. I'd love to hear. So, my love, if the season of your energy is getting you down, if the clouds are with you right now, please know that they are your teachers, they're your friends, they are your tender gardeners. And sunshine is coming. Love you lots. See you next time. Ta-ra! Thanks for listening to Rowdy and Real with me, Sophie Shaw. If you'd like to stay in touch, then please visit norwichtherapy.co.uk and join the mailing list to receive a gorgeous free meditation straight into your inbox. And if you'd like to chat with me about your stuff, then please book yourself a free 30-minute call at sophieshaw.as.me/free call, and we'll start making a plan for your happiness. This podcast is intended for educational and vaguely entertaining purposes and is not a replacement for counselling, psychotherapy or coaching. Please take responsibility for your mental health and ask for the help you need. You're fabulous and you deserve to be happy. Bye!